Yo, what's up, nerds? This is Alex here on Nerd Anonymous, doing my quick review and recap of Doctor Strange, the newest Marvel movie that came out on November 4th. We're going to do our quick little rundown here. Saw the movie last night, and as Marvel does, it was held up to the same standard. It definitely harkened back to like an Iron Man or in the way that because it was an origin story of Doctor Strange. This all happens before he is the Sorcerer Supreme, but before the movie was fantastic. It's gonna make $1 bazillion. Marvel's doing great. I am The story going through is actually quite unimportant in the grand scheme of the Marvel Universe. I mean, understanding the backstory of Doctor Strange is very important, but understanding how all these different things link into the Marvel Cinematic Universe is very important. And I think that those are the things that are going to really make Doctor Strange an important character moving forward in the MCU. So let's go through and let's look at a few of the things in the movie that are quite good. And we'll move forward. We'll talk about some of these things that really help tie in Doctor Strange to the rest of the MCU and allow kind of everybody to understand exactly why he is a character and why he's an important character. So what we get here for the first third of the movie, you just meet Stephen Strange. Dr. Stephen Strange, he's a neurosurgeon, he's a cocky asshole. He hates most of the people that he works with, mostly because he wants to feel better than them. And then you have his love interest, which is played by Rachel McAdams, and the first third of the movie to me was fairly uninteresting. I mean, it followed a very kind of scripted storyline, almost not scripted, but like it follows a very kind of that generic storyline that Marvel's been pursuing in each of their origin stories, and you have the same kind of issues where in all of those origin stories you didn't have incredibly strong villains other than the first Iron Man movie, which I felt had a very strong villain. But in this movie you have a very strong villain, and then because this movie wasn't about the villain, it was very much about Doctor Strange. As I said, it was an origin story, so I don't really care that much about the villain, but what it really did do was it opened doors to future storylines with this character, that with Benedict Cumberbatch being Doctor Strange. You can take this character and make him into a franchise that is just as successful as your Iron Man franchise. He's Doctor Strange is like the glue of the Avengers in a lot of ways. Doctor Strange is not necessarily inhibited by his being human as much as a lot of the rest of the Avengers are. Even if they're not human, they're still mortal, and they're still very first-person perspective is based and all of that kind of stuff, where Doctor Strange has a much broader perspective on reality because he's been to other dimensions, he's seen them, he's fought terrible, terrifying things in other dimensions, and that is, he has this wisdom and knowledge of all these other things that are going on, and then he comes and he's put in a situation where he has to deal with people like Iron Man and Captain America, and you don't have and like Thor and the Hulk, and you have Doctor Strange, who is a character who can sit there and just very, very calmly just kind of tell it to him straight, because he's a dick. He's still a dick. Like, he's not any less of an asshole now than he was at the beginning of the movie. Now he's just wiser. So now the asshole is more in kind of like these cute one-liners, whereas before it was his whole persona. And You see that in the mid-credit scene with him and Thor, where it's like, okay, so you're trying to find Odin, and he's like, yeah. He's like, okay, and you're here with your brother Loki, who I have on my list of one of the most dangerous things to Earth, and I would not like him here. And he's like, well, we're here to find our father, and as soon as we find him, we'll leave. And Doctor Strange just stands up, and he's like, well, I'm here. Well, I'm here to help. Let's do it. And that's kind of what that allows you to see is it's like, okay, so Doctor Strange is this guy that like all these superheroes they just show up to. He's like, listen, I have a problem. I need to solve it. And as long as it matters enough to him, he will help you solve it because he has like as he said he has a list of things, so there are certain things that are just below him that he won't deal with, like Civil War, for example. Why wasn't Doctor Strange involved in Civil War? Oh, well, because he doesn't care, quite frankly. He has more important things to deal with. He's dealing with keeping demons and other various interdimensional beings away from Earth and becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, becoming the most powerful sorcerer on Earth and keeping it safe and protected. And, you know, these superheroes are squabbling over somebody killing someone's mom. Like, he just doesn't care. He's dealing with problems that are on a different scale. And that's important to have in the Avengers, who are a very big organization, but yet, in scale, they're very small. Even in comparison to Doctor Strange. Because in scale, Doctor Strange does things that are on a much larger scale because he's a sorcerer. He has the ability to do a lot more. And, okay, so that's just talking about Doctor Strange, reference to the Avengers and stuff. It's a great movie. I don't want to give too much away. I care more about the little spoiler things, the little tidbits, and the Easter eggs that they gave, and how those things might actually reference back to other parts of the Marvel Universe. Because here's something very, like, it stood out to me the most of any of the things that went on. Like, the Eye of Agamotto is an Infinity Stone, so we know that the Eye of Agamotto is the Time Gem. Yay! Whoopee, we have the Time Gem. We found it. We know where the Time Gem is. So now we are only missing one Infinity Stone, and that's the Soul Gem. So we're trying to find the Soul Gem. Well, Thanos is trying to find the Soul Gem. And so that's how that works. But what's really cool is that you had a moment where they were training one another. Where Mordo is training Doctor Strange. And he pulls out a weapon. He's like, you choose your weapon, summon your weapon. And Mordo pulls out one, and he explains the name of the weapon, and he says, this is the Living Tribunal's staff. Now, for those that read Infinity War, they know that something like the Infinity Gauntlet storyline and Infinity War, we all know something very cool that happens in that storyline. And that is that all of the cosmic beings call on the Living Tribunal to take the gauntlet away from Thanos, and the Living Tribunal doesn't do it. And then after they beat Thanos and get the gauntlet away from him, and Adam Warlock has the gauntlet, the Living Tribunal shows up and takes it away. So this means that that character, the character of the Living Tribunal, is an actual being that exists in the MCU. So, like, not only do we have the Elders of the Universe, like the Collector. So we have all of the Elders of the Universe, because we're assuming, because we have the Collector. We have all the Sky Fathers, because we have Odin. We have all the various demons and other interdimensional beings because we have Dormammu. We have Celestials because of Guardians of the Galaxy, because Nowhere is literally just a giant, like, semi-planet mine that's built into the back of a dead Celestial. And, like, now we have the Living Tribunal. And they even show a Celestial in Guardians of the Galaxy destroying a planet with the power gem. So, what you've seen the MCU do very strategically, they've done it slowly, but they've done it very, very methodically, especially in their more fringe pieces. They introduce a lot of the background lore very quietly into the MCU. And I think that a lot of people that don't understand what is going to happen, what happened in Infinity War, and what is actually on the way for them. I mean, there might actually be a scene that has, like, because they don't have Galactus, what you could do, you could use the Skyfathers as one of your groups of people that are appealing to the Living Tribunal, with, like, Doctor Strange and Eternity and all of them. And you can have that scene where they're in, like, they go and see the Living Tribunal, and he does it like a courtroom, and that would to me, that would be one of the coolest things that you could ever do. Because if you're gonna do Infinity War and you're going to really try to make it this cosmic level event, then the Living Tribunal's gonna get involved, because the Living Tribunal gets involved when cosmic level events happen in the multiverse. So I think I'm very interested in seeing just exactly where they go there. We now know where the Infinity Stone is, so we know that Thanos is gonna have to go take a visit and have a visit with Doctor Strange in the Sanctum Sanctorum in order to acquire the Time Gem, which people are saying things like, you could just loop Thanos into that. It's like they don't realize that if Thanos has the reality gem before before he meets up with Doctor Strange, like, if he just goes and just blows the Collector's place up and just takes the reality gem from him and puts it in the gauntlet, and then he goes to Xandar, and he just blows up Xandar and takes the power gem with him and puts it in the gauntlet. And then he just goes to Asgard and just blows up Asgard and takes the space gem. And then he can just, teleport himself next to the Time Gem when Strange isn't wearing the Eye of Agamotto, and he can just take it and put it in the gem, and then he just goes and finds the Soul Gem wherever it is, and then he's good. So, I don't... And also, once he has, like, the Reality Gem and the Power Gem, I mean, you just have a situation where Thanos is beginning to control aspects of the universe, and he understands how to do all this, and he's strong enough to do all this. So, as an entity, Thanos is very, very strong, dangerous, and powerful, and once he acquires 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all 6 Infinity Stones, his power level increases exponentially, and then once he acquires all 6, it's limitless. He literally becomes the dictate of the universe. Anything that he seeks or wants, thinks, chooses, feels, believes, happens, period, because having the Infinity Stone means you control space, time, reality, the souls of the creatures within the universe. You have limitless power. All of these things, these are all things that Thanos has once he acquires the Infinity Stones. So I think that it's very silly to be so close-minded as to think that, oh, Doctor Strange has one and he kind of knows how to use it, sort of. So he's going to be able to deal with Thanos, who's been trying to acquire the Infinity Stones for how long, and has been studying them for how long, knowing exactly what they're going to do, because none of these people actually know that they can do this. Or if they do know that they can do this, then none of them have ever actually strived to accomplish the goal. Thanos is not only has the knowledge of that it can happen, he knows how to do it, he's strong enough to do it, and he's capable of wielding the power at his beck and call. So I just don't think that when people are trying to when you try to compare power level, we're starting to get into the point where Doctor Strange is the most powerful strict hero, because I don't consider Adam Warlock really to be a hero. Adam Warlock is more like a anti-hero or a neutral character. Doctor Strange is a god. He becomes a god. The longer Doctor Strange exists as the Sorcerer Supreme, the more artifacts and other various things that he acquires that will upgrade his power level, to the point that if Doctor Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme for, let's say, 100 years, because he grants himself long life with some random artifact that he acquires, he will have that gain, he constantly gaining power. He doesn't have a skill cap, because he doesn't have a cap in power level, because his powers are based largely off of the magics around him, and he manipulates the energy in the multiverse, which is limitless. So he's more of a conduit for that energy, and the artifacts that he acquires allow him to be a more efficient conduit for that energy, which is limitless. So Doctor Strange can level up to be essentially a god tier character, and he's on the same kind of a level as a Scarlet Witch is a god tier character. Doctor Strange is very similar. He's just much more refined than Scarlet Witch is. And that is how you can see all these different characters and how they interact. Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange are the only two people that should really be dealing with Thanos in any way, shape, or form. Anybody else is just going to be used as a distraction, because it's going to be worthless to have them attacking Thanos, because while he's wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, he can't do anything. He's just going to die. You're literally just going to die. You can do nothing to Thanos when he's wearing the Infinity Gauntlet. He is a god. You have to take it off of him, or he has to willingly remove it. One of the two. So, yeah. That was my, we're going to talk about Doctor Strange a couple more times, but this is just kind of my first reaction / review, with some Easter eggy spoiler stuff involved in there. We're going to do a couple of these talking about Doctor Strange. We're going to try to break down the film. We're going to get a little bit more in-depth about more things regarding the film. I'm going to see it a couple of more times probably, and really pay attention to a lot of the more detail-oriented stuff. The visuals for the film were absolutely fantastic. It is something that you have never seen before, and hopefully we see it again in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I've never seen anything like this before. So, visually speaking, it is a film that transcends anything that had been done before it, which was very, very cool, and very, very special in that it really captured what Doctor Strange is, and did the character real, genuine justice. So that's our review of that's my review of Doctor Strange, number 1, and breaking down some of that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys watch the rest of the videos on the channel. Like and subscribe and all that various whatnots. You guys have a good one. Peace, nerds.